Hey travelers, Mag here, coming at you from Shanghai, China. I was supposed to be here on the ground for a full day and I had a big adventure planned for you. However, a typhoon blew through yesterday and blew our plans right off course. So instead of a full day to get out here and go geocaching, I've got 3 hours before I need to make a trip back to the airport. But you better believe that I'm gonna get out here and make as many finds as I can in the amount of time that I have. Just around the corner from me, I have 2 brand new geocaches that have never been found before. So we have a first to find opportunity twice over here in Shanghai. After that, I got a couple of parks looked at, and that's probably the end of our time. So I wanted to take this quick trip through Shanghai and show you just a little tiny bit of this city before we gotta get back to Japan. Come on, let's go. My first time on the ground in a new country, I'm excited by everything around me. First and foremost, several of the geocache pages have warned me that the maps and the satellite imagery here are not accurate to the geocache locations, and so far that seems to be exactly the case. However, the coordinates are still on the spot, so regardless of what the sat says, I'm going to a 0 and I'm starting to look. And wouldn't you know it, geosenses and coordinates both agree, and I was able to spot this find at the very first place I looked. So, assuming nothing's happened in the last few days, we've got a very good shot at a blank logbook here. So let's get a little drum roll while we open this thing up. Oh, look at that, look at that. Very exciting moment here. Get ready for it, get ready for it. And the survey says, oh, look at all that blank paper, people. Look at that. That is a blank logbook. So not only is this our first find in China, it's the first find for this geocache. Oh yes, what a day. Totally worth the trip out from the airport just for this alone. Only a geocacher would understand how important a blank paper like this is, right? One first to find down, but there is still potentially one more ahead of us, so let's get a move on. And there are definitely signs all around that a typhoon blew through just yesterday. Whew, boy. Man, this whole row got hit right here. I'm kind of glad that I wasn't around for this storm. As I make my way from the first ground zero toward the second geocache, I am astounded by the amount of damage this typhoon left in its wake. The river is laden with sediment and debris, trees fallen along the riverbanks. Around each corner, I spot more trees ripped out of the ground laying across the sidewalk. The good thing about coming immediately on the heels of a typhoon is exactly the same thing as it is traveling after a hurricane. All that bad weather goes out with the storm. So right now, the sun is shining, there's not a little bit of wind blowing, and sure, I've clearly got to pick my way around the debris on the sidewalks here because there's a lot of it, but I could not have asked for better weather here. This is going to be a good 3 hours, I suspect. Oh boy, look at some of this. They got their work cut out for them. Before long, I draw near my second ground zero. This appears to be a shopping plaza that normally has a lot of hustle and bustle, but everything is still closed as of right now. When I decided that this was the spot I was going to go looking for geocaches here, it wasn't because there was one FTF. It's because there were 2 potential FTFs. And in our hand, we have the second container. Now let's do the magic moment and find out if we have another first to find in hand. I think we do. Do you have that sense of anticipation like I do? It's that moment when you're unfolding a potentially blank logbook and you know that you might be the first finder, especially when it's in a new country. And the survey says that, my friends, is another completely blank log. 2 FTFs for our first 2 finds here in Shanghai. As far as I'm concerned, this day is already done, but we still have another couple hours left to go. So let's go find some more caches. It is early in the morning here, and I mean very early. The sun rose just as our flight was landing in here. And I suspect that things are opening up even a little bit later than normal with the typhoon blowing through. So fortunately, the Family Mart, just over there, opened up while I was looking for the geocache, so I was able to go in and get a drink. I decided, of course, something I didn't recognize here. It's a blood orange drink. I haven't seen this at a Family Mart in Japan. It looks like a winner to me. Oh, very refreshing. I've got a couple miles to the next couple of geocaches, so I'm very glad to have some hydration for the walk over.
And when I tell you that I'm only showing you a small slice of this city, I really mean it. With nearly 25 million inhabitants, this is the third largest city anywhere in the world. My plan only has me walking a few miles through the city. Shanghai covers an area of roughly 2,400 square miles, meaning I'm showing you a fraction of a percent of the city.
I actually started this long walk on the other side of the street over there, but it didn't take long to realize all the awesome murals are on this side. So I walked back, came over, checked some of these things out. These are awesome.
It is said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and that is exactly what these murals are trying to convey. Each one offers us a little bit of insight into the city of Shanghai and the country of China, if we're willing to read the words hidden behind the pictures. For example, the very first picture we came across in this set of murals told us that Shanghai has the longest metro in the world. Launched in 1993, it now includes 20 lines across 508 stations, stretching for 831 kilometers in length. And in a close second is the Beijing subway, stretching for 807 kilometers across 490 stations.
While some of the effects of that typhoon are clearly devastating, there are cleanup crews out all over the place. I can tell you right now that this is not indicative of the norm, just based on the amount of effort I see to get all these trees picked up, all the debris, and any damage like that. I'd give it another day or two and you'll never even know a typhoon hit this place.
And all things considered, I would say the city held up fairly well. The Category 1 storm, Typhoon Babinka, made landfall with wind speeds of 130 kilometers per hour. This was the single largest storm to have hit this city in more than 70 years, with the last storm with magnitudes this great having been recorded in 1949. Despite that, it doesn't appear any of these chickens flew the coop.
I have no idea what kind of flowers these are. I've never seen anything quite like them. But they are beautiful, aren't they?
It's really interesting to think about the roots of this city of nearly 25 million people. Like so many other cities, it had humble roots beginning as little more than a small fishing village. That, of course, was more than 7,000 years ago in the year 5000 BC. It came a long way since then, becoming an official city in 1291.
I said in Osaka, and it is definitely worth saying again, I just love getting out there and walking the streets of a city. Yeah, miles to cover can be pretty exhausting, and especially given how much walking I did in the last couple of days, plus spending all day yesterday with my canceled flight on the Pump It Up machine, and I mean, all day. My feet are tired, but there's no way this close to the finish line that I'm gonna stop walking until the clock runs out. I'm only about a mile now from the next group of targets, and then once I get there, they're all fairly close together from there. So just got to make it along this path, which as we progress is getting a little bit hairier because it hasn't been fully cleaned up yet.
As I ever so slowly eat up the distance toward my next target, I am enthralled by the city views around me. Everything seems to be going well until I find I'm taking the long way around.
So close, and yet still so far away. Straight line distance from my first two targets to my next group was 2.5 miles, straight line. But of course, the way the roads are, you've got to go completely east and then completely north to make that happen. Unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, the road maps on the satellites don't quite line up to reality here. So I'm really close. If I can just cross the river there, I'm only about a quarter mile away from my target. Unfortunately, this gate has a river and a highway on the other side of it. So hopefully, within a quarter mile up here, there will be a bridge crossing to get over this pedestrian-wise. Won't know till I'm there though. Here's hoping.
The short answer to my hope is no. No, there is not a pedestrian crossing anywhere in the near future. I make the most of the view, realizing I'm in for the long haul.
Oh my goodness, I finally did it. That was easily, and I'm talking easily, an extra mile that I had to walk on the inside of that green fence, pretty much all around the exterior of that industrial complex. I'd say that killed good 20 to 30 minutes, so definitely not gonna have a lot of time left once I get to these geocaches, but I'm already this far in. We're not quitting now, we're going for this. By the way, it's like half a mile now to get to our targets. So yeah, it came a pretty long way out to go back.
And yet, despite knowing that I'm still half a mile from my target, I am extra motivated seeing that green fence on the other side of these trees now. Nothing is going to stop me this time around.
I definitely feel like I've been trying to find Long Dong for a very long time, but gotta tell you, feels pretty good. Miles and miles covered to get to this spot, but somehow it's all worthwhile for that. That makes the journey well worth it, in my opinion. What do you think?
Compared to what I just went through to get this far, it's practically no distance at all to the last group of geocaches ahead of me. Once again, I find myself in awe of the pure destructive power of Typhoon Bubinka. I feel my expectation for another find growing as I pass through the keyhole, with my GPS now counting down in hundreds of feet. With fallen trees blocking my path though, I still have to take the long way around.
It looks like it's about time to sit down and take a rest. Or not sit down and just add my name to another logbook.
My last couple of targets bring me to what is hands down the coolest place I'll get to see on this trip into Shanghai, Jinfeng Park. While not a particularly big park, only covering about 50 acres, it is set up in such a way that you are moving smoothly from one landscape to the next in seamless transitions. In one moment, I find myself coming clear of a bamboo forest, and the next, picking my way across a zigzag bridge over the river. Although I was able to quickly discern there was a more direct route to my target, I chose to take the long way around, specifically so I could see all the sights Jinfeng Park had to offer. It comes to me as little surprise in an area of the city that features very few geocaches that so many would be clustered around this small park. Exactly the kind of place I would want to showcase for visitors on a local's tour of the area.
And for our grand finale, we have none other than a guardrail find. What? Yes, that does it. This is the last geocache for us to find. All done. All right, that is going to wrap up this walking tour in the Shanghai area. We got off the airplane, immediately set out and got 2 first to finds to start off our day. In 3 hours, we found 5 caches and covered about 5 miles. We got to see a pretty good section of the city, and I hope you enjoyed the tour as much as I did. I would have loved to have shown you the downtown Shanghai area, but it was not meant to be with that typhoon coming in yesterday. And seeing how the conditions were, I didn't want to be anywhere near this place. Thank you guys for joining me all along the way. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, stay tuned for updates, and I'll see you out on the trails.